Yo, what is going on? My name is Sweet Phil. Today, right here in this video, I'm bringing you a mega budget build guide here for a Paladin early on in Diablo 2, and obviously with Diablo 2 Resurrected coming out, this will transfer over perfectly to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now, I'm going to go over the stat points, I'm going to go over the skill points, and go over the gear here. And when I get to the gear, I'm going to give you a ton of different options that you can use because you never know what you could find. This is going to be mega budget here, but there's going to be other options that you can find probably early on that'll make your character even better. Now, right off the bat here, I like to show exactly what this character could do. So let's take a look. Now, the first and most obvious spot up here at Eldritch. Easy peasy, no problem. You can spin up, take these guys out. Didn't drop me nothing, but ain't no thing. Let's go ahead and check out what Shank's got for me. Alright, now they're down here. Luckily, there's no other monsters. Shank can be a little bit dangerous sometimes with all the quill rats around, or whatever else, the javelin cats or whatever they're called. But this time, no problem. Also, nothing that time, but easy peasy, super quick running that with the Paladin. Alright, so I'm not going to go all the way into the Chaos Sanctuary, but I'm just going to go down the River of Flames and show you here. These are all similar to the same monsters you're going to find in the Chaos Sanctuary. And you can see how you can take these guys out. Because this is budget, you know, the resistances aren't the super best, but you can see the damage is crazy. So maybe if you're just chugging a bunch of potions, or there's a skill here you can switch over to that will bring your health and mana right back up. But you can see this character can definitely hold its own here. Alrighty, now we'll hop into the skill points, and unlike most builds, this isn't necessarily exactly max Vita build. You put enough strength to wear your gear. Pretty normal for any caster. I got 95 because that's the highest I need to any singular piece of my gear. The dexterity you can see here is actually higher, and that's because I want to get max block. You see this is only 42% chance to max block, but I'll use one of the skills here, and it'll bump it up 75% chance to block. That's what I'm looking for. That's the highest you can get on a character here in Diablo 2, and that's going to be, this number's going to differ for you depending on how many skill points you can get into this skill. Holy Shield, which I couldn't max it out, but then you put dexterity points in until you get max block. You don't necessarily have to go max block. You could go max vitality like you do with essentially every single other build in the entire game, but I just like to go max block with this. Then yeah, after you get enough points into dexterity to get max block, you come down to vitality, put the rest into that. I did not put any into energy here. That's the way I would always recommend you go with that. So now we'll jump over to the skill tree, and why not we start off with the combat skills here. The first three coming down here, Smite, Holy Bolt, and Charge. I just put 1 point into those. They're up to 5 because of the skills I have on the gear. I have maxed out Blessed Hammers because this is a Hammerden after all. This is where all of your damage is going to be coming from. And I put all the maximum remaining points I had into Holy Shield because that is a really, really good skill, obviously, to get maxed block. I didn't have enough to max it out yet, so in the future, maybe I would add more points into that upcoming. Now, it's really important here you look Blessed Hammer's synergies at the bottom here, Blessed Aim and Vigor. And each one of those, there's one on each one of the next two skill trees. Here we're going to offensive auras. So 1 into Might, so you can get down to Blessed Aim. It's up to 24 here. I maxed that out. Then actually go down to the next aura here, Concentration, and you want to max that aura out too. This is the aura that you want to have active while you're casting your hammers and attacking, because it increases the damage and decreases the chance that your attacks will be interrupted from you and your party. Really, what you want is that, you see right here at this skill level, 405% increased damage. So that's pretty massive, and that's gonna really make them hammers wreck. Now we'll come over to the defensive auras, and you can see I got 1 into Prayer, 1 into Defiance, 1 into Cleansing, and that's just to get down to here to Vigor, because that was another synergy for Blessed Hammers. And then I don't know if you also did notice this, but I got 1 more down here at Redemption. Redemption is a good skill to have because after you take down a whole mob, your mana is going to be lower. Your health might have got knocked down. You can switch over to this aura real quick, and you see it has a chance to redeem souls. 50% is what the with 1 skill level here, excuse me, and it's only at level 5 there with the skills I have on my gear. But it recovers 45 points of life and mana. And the higher the level, obviously, the better chance it has and the more it will return. But I just go with 1 skill point because I don't feel that it's really necessary to do more than that. 1 skill point is perfectly there, and you want the other skill points to add more damage on the other stuff. All right, now we're glancing at the gear here, and I'm going to give you a lot of options, and later editor Phil here is going to even bring in pictures of the other options and all that good stuff. So this stuff right here is gear that I have that's all super mega budget that works really good together, but it depends on what you can find, how fast you can find things. It's all going to be a little bit different, but like I said, I'm going to give you different examples and the reasoning why I picked what I picked to put together here. So we're going to start off with the weapon. This is a caster, so it's not uncommon early on to have a spirit sword. This one I roll a few times to get 35 FCR so that it could come out to an even number, because when you're making your paladin here, casting for a Hammerden, you want to come to 75 is one faster cast rate breakpoint, and the next one is 125. And with this, even though it's a crazy budget build here, I actually reached the 125, the fastest possible cast rate breakpoint, so that's always important. So 2 to skills, it's got a bunch of hit recovery, it's got the faster cast rate, and the other stuff down, it's got 94 to magic here, and you can see I'm playing on my single player pluggy with a loot filter, so you can see the ranges 89 to 112. Other options here, you're not going to have a Heart of the Oak yet. That's actually endgame absolutely amazing, but another great option here is the Whiz Spike, getting a huge amount of faster cast rate, and you get 75 to all resistance. That is, in my opinion, actually a more preferred option. That 75 to all res will probably, wherever you end up falling, will cap your resistances, and the survivability that adds is crazy, not to mention adds a bunch to mana and some other stuff on there that I can't remember everything offhand. But we'll jump up to the helmet. I like to get magic find from somewhere. Like, we're out here magic finding, trying to find better gear. You got to have it on here somewhere. For the helmet, I don't really feel that there's a ton better options. Here we get 72% better magic find just with 3 perfect topazes and a helm. You could always make a lore early on, but it gets you 1 to all skills, and beyond that, it isn't a ton of stuff that really helps you out a lot. But the first bit of magic find, I don't know if you ever seen the magic find curve, it really helps out finding better items. So I really like to go on almost every character early on for budget with a magic find helm like this. We'll jump over to the shield. I got a spirit in a pally shield, and you can see this one, the base, if you look at the fire res, 34 resistance is how much the base had. If you can't find a shield that has any base resistance on it, that's okay. Early on, just make your first spirit as fast as you can, and you go with that, because you're going to get the $2 skills, the 25 to 35 cast rate, and between the hit recovery there and here, I mean 110 hit recovery just off the bat like that is insane. So that is, just get yourself a spirit. Beyond that, you could, if you find a lidless or something like that along the way, or if you make a splendor or something like that, there's a different lower level rune word options that you can make over here that are kind of good options too. If you come down over to the armor here, we got stealth. You could be using the same stealth that you made in Act 1 normal, possibly. The faster cast rate, the faster walk run, and more hit recovery. Stealth is an incredibly awesome rune word for just a Tal and an Ethrune. If you can find a better base, this is a garbage trash base. I just made it and threw it on here just for example purposes. But other good options, if you could make or find yourself a Viper Magi, that is awesome. Or K-Hagens, or any of those uniques that you find along the way when you start magic finding, they might be a better option. I would say Viper Magi is absolutely a better option than a stealth. So keep your eye out for that Viper Magi until later on endgame you get yourself that Enigma. We'll jump down to the gloves here. This one is going to be something you're probably not going to find on your playthrough. If you get lucky, like I have before in the past, you can find yourself some Trang's gloves. If you don't, maybe you can find yourself some Mage Fists. And if those two you can't find because they have faster cast rate on them, maybe you're going to have to go with some just rare gloves that have some resistance on them and things like that. There's not a ton of good options for the gloves beyond, like I said, Trang's gloves and Mage Fist. Over on the boots, Alder's boots are a good example. They're pretty budget, but once again, maybe on a playthrough you can't find them. and there aren't a ton of awesome, great options. If you can find some silk weaves or something like that, is another option of something you could find. Or once again, any rare boots you can find that has resistance, life, mana, and things like that, hit recovery, walk run. And don't forget, if you don't have anything and you get to any point where you're slightly starting to struggle, don't forget to check out vendors. They will sell blue boots that could have 80 life on them with 15 lightning resin, weird stuff like that, that are just blue items that for the boots and for the gloves, to be honest. So make sure you check out those vendors for these slots because, like I said, there's no good like crafted stuff really that you can make. You could, I guess, go caster boots and caster gloves, but that seems like a waste of amethyst in my opinion. But we'll hop over to the belt here. I just threw on a blue belt, and this is what I was talking about. You can find just blue items. You can buy them from vendors, or you can pick them up in ID and get lucky. But I got an 80 to life belt here. And the reason I have this on instead of maybe some other options that are super easy to get is just because of the faster cast rate breakpoint. I didn't need any more FCR. And I actually did make myself a caster belt. Don't sleep on the caster belt, especially real early on, like during your playthrough. I would say your first amethyst, you can make yourself a caster's belt. You can get up to 10% faster cast rate, but you can get a bunch of other stuff like hit recovery on it, life, mana, maybe a resistance here and there. So don't sleep on the caster belt. Beyond that, for a paladin, if you can find anything, if you find a string of ears, just you don't need a life leech, but you get damage reduction on it and stuff like that. Once again, it's another slot where there isn't a crazy lot of good options. I might even consider throwing on a gold wrap, getting more magic find here, since you got a budget build and you're going to be looking for better gear. We'll jump to the amulet, and the amulet is trash. I just got whatever random amulet I could grab, that 24 to energy and 18 to mana, because you are going to be using a lot of mana cast in all of those hammers. And actually, I didn't put any points into energy, so I just have the standard base when you start the game with 15 energy points. So this 24 to energy almost like triples the amount of energy points I have with a little bit extra mana there. You definitely could go with a caster amulet if you find a magic or rare amulet with any skills at all for a paladin. I would go with all of that over top of this, but like I said before, I didn't need any more faster cast rate for this exact particular build, so I decided to grab something that was budget, that could just be something to help my character out, kind of give you an idea of something you just go and randomly grab that would help out. A Ravenfrost, you kind of find them all over the place, but then you kind of don't. I was a little debating on whether to include this in a budget build, but I mean, I kind of have so many of them, I decided to throw it on there. But if you can't find yourself a Ravenfrost, it might be a little bit. You might take a look at things kind of more like this option here. If you can find a rare ring, faster cast rate, got some strength, got some mana, got some res. This is a okay one. It's not bad. Any combination of this stuff along with the faster cast rate and it can get you to whatever breakpoint you're looking for, the 75 or the 125. Obviously you could find a Dwarf Star, you could find a Nagel Ring, things like that also you could throw in here. But I don't want to say you necessarily find that stuff along the way like a Ravenfrost, you know. But those are other options there for the gear here that you can throw on. Look over on Switch, you get yourself a teleport staff. Now, teleport staffs, that way you can reposition your mercenary, you can pull your mercenary out of danger if he is dying, and also if you are playing through the game or you're magic finding and you need to just get around a loop to get to where you need to go down to the next level or something like that, you can just quickly teleport over, save you a ton of time. Now, you can get a teleport staff kind of pretty early on. Act 3 normal, I think is what it is, but you have to be above level 18, I believe what it is. Don't quote me on that. But I almost always end up waiting until I get to about level, I would say it's usually like level 40, because it's usually in Nightmare where I end up getting myself a tele staff. You can actually go to Act 2. I will show you just super quick here. But when you get to Act 2 in Dragnon, you find a game where Dragnon's here and the door to go out is right here. And you can run out, come back in. Come in here and look at the staffs and buy one. And you can find one with teleport staffs. If not, you run out. And as soon as you get out of town and come back in and hit trade, he'll have more staffs. So that's the one quick way. That's why I always wait till get to Act 2 in Nightmare, because it's the super fast way to shop for it. If not, you're leaving games, coming back in. But I do usually look every time when I'm by a vendor that sells staffs and I'm, past Act 3 or later and high enough level, I always look to see if I can find myself a tele staff. Now we'll take a look at the Mercenaries Gear. Kind of important. This is a go-to awesome budget build for a mercenary. This is Act 2, Act 2 defensive mercenary, excuse me, with the cold aura. So we have an insight in whatever the best base you can find here. I got a cryptic axe. Don't forget, if you got the Colossus Fulge, you got to make sure your mercenary has enough strength to use it. So I usually don't like going with the CV, but if that's the best you can find early on, you go with it. But obviously the insight's going to help you out with any mana issues you do have. It also provides a very high amount of damage, so that helps out your mercenary as well. We're going to move over to the armor, and I put a treachery here. This is an ethereal dust shroud that's e-bugged. Don't worry necessarily about the base. If all you can find is a normal base that's not ethereal, not e-bugged, that's perfectly fine. That huge amount of increased attack speed will make your mercenary hit even faster, and that actually helps out with the next item up here that has life leech on it, because the more times you hit, the more damage he does, the more life he leeches, the better he stays alive. Also, treachery has hit recovery, you see there, but that 5% chance to fade is the big one, because fade will have damage reduction, and it will help out resistances and stuff like that. So there is actually an argument to be had that people will say not to use ethereal armors, because then you have less of a chance of getting hit, which then you have less of a chance of the fade proccing. But I don't know, I just would wait for the fade to proc and then hope then you'd get hit less even later, your mercenary anyways I'm talking about. So that's all up to you. Now we'll take a look at the helm, and this is the awesome, amazing budget helm for a mercenary here. We got Talrash's Heraldric Crest. So you got 10 to life leech, you got 15 to all resistance, and you got 60 to life. That's a huge, huge, huge 10 life leech up there. And you can see down here that the resistances are not quite capped here. We got 75 on the cold, but those are 73. But when the fade hits, you'll be good to go. You don't need to worry about that. So the survivability on this mercenary is going to rock. So as for other options on this stuff, like I said, an insight, you should be able to make an insight pretty early on. You can make it in any base that is a pole arm, not spears. Don't make that mistake. It's got to be a pole arm. As for armors, if you find a shaft stop along the way, maybe. I would actually probably rather use this than a shaft stop, but I'm just saying, if you can't find that lem rune, maybe a shaft stop or whatever, the best armor, you could stick an armor on here, shove a bunch of rubies in it to give your mercenary more health, or any jewels that have maybe all res on them, something you get lucky and find on your playthrough. But treachery, get yourself a lem rune, make yourself a treachery for a mercenary, you will not regret it. Up for helmets, you could do the same thing I said with the army. You can find a helmet and plug in some perfect rubies if you're going super budget. If you can't get nothing, like that's like your playthrough in Nightmare or normal, you can do that. If you find a Crown of Thieves or something like that, that's got life leech on it too, and some other stuff. Vamp Gaze, if you get lucky and find one of those, you never know what you could find and plug in up here. So that's some other good options there for mercenary gear. Alright, and I do want to go over exactly how to play this character, because there is a little bit of swapping around with the skills and stuff here, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. I'm going to go ahead and scooch myself over here to give yourself a better look at what's going on. All right, now that I'm out of the way and you can see the skill, let's jump to the Frigid Highland. First of all, get yourself Holy Shield going so that you can get yourself to that max block. Now, you want to switch over to Concentrate. That's going to be what you're going to be having on as an aura while you're attacking. Now come up here. We'll show you. Now you see the hammers is on the left button click. Hold down shift and you can just cast away like that, or you can click on the exact monster to attack. But if you hold down shift, then you can cast even when you're not clicking on a monster. Because if not, you'll run around and you won't cast any hammers when really you kind of wanted to. We'll go ahead and just heal up with that. And then once they're all dead here, you can switch to Redemption. I have on 4 and watch the bodies. Whoop. And that will heal up the rest of your mana and the rest of your health. So it's simple as that. Put on Concentration, cast, take things out. After everything's dead, you switch to Redemption. You let it bring back all your health and mana. Switch back to Concentration, move on, and start attacking again.